The notion that the mainstream media uses climate change to oppress Christians is a complex and multifaceted topic. While it is essential to acknowledge the importance of addressing climate change, it is also crucial to examine the potential biases and agendas that may be at play in the media's coverage of this issue. Some Christians argue that the media's emphasis on climate change is a deliberate attempt to undermine their values and beliefs, and to promote a secular, liberal agenda. One way in which the media may be perceived as using climate change to oppress Christians is by perpetuating a narrative that Christians are anti-science and anti-environment. This narrative is often perpetuated through the media's portrayal of Christians as being in opposition to climate change mitigation efforts, and as being more concerned with economic growth and development than with protecting the environment. However, this narrative is not entirely accurate, as many Christians are deeply concerned about the impact of climate change on the most vulnerable members of society, and are actively working to promote sustainable practices and reduce their carbon footprint. Another way in which the media may be using climate change to oppress Christians is by promoting a secular, liberal worldview that is at odds with Christian values. The media's coverage of climate change often emphasizes the need for collective action and government intervention, which can be seen as a threat to individual freedom and autonomy. This can be particularly problematic for Christians who believe in the importance of individual responsibility and stewardship of the earth. Furthermore, the media's emphasis on the need for drastic action to address climate change can be seen as a form of moral panic, which can be used to justify policies and practices that are in conflict with Christian teachings. The media's coverage of climate change also often ignores or downplays the perspectives of Christians who are working to address this issue. For example, the media rarely covers the work of Christian organizations that are promoting sustainable agriculture, reducing energy consumption, and advocating for climate justice. Instead, the media often focuses on the views of secular, liberal environmentalists who are critical of Christian teachings and values. This can create a false narrative that Christians are not concerned about climate change, and that they are not working to address this issue. It is also worth noting that some Christians believe that the media's coverage of climate change is part of a larger agenda to promote a secular, liberal worldview that is hostile to Christian values. This agenda is often referred to as the Green Agenda, and it is seen as a threat to traditional Christian teachings and practices. According to this perspective, the media's emphasis on climate change is not just about addressing a scientific issue, but about promoting a particular worldview that is at odds with Christian values. In conclusion, the idea that the mainstream media uses climate change to oppress Christians is a complex and multifaceted issue. While it is essential to acknowledge the importance of addressing climate change, it is also crucial to examine the potential biases and agendas that may be at play in the media's coverage of this issue. The media's portrayal of Christians as being anti-science and anti-environment, its promotion of a secular, liberal worldview, and its ignoring of Christian perspectives on climate change all contribute to a narrative that can be seen as oppressive to Christians. However, it is also important to recognize that many Christians are actively working to address climate change, and that they are committed to promoting a values-based approach to environmental stewardship. By promoting a more nuanced and balanced understanding of the complex relationships between climate change, Christianity, and the media, we can work to create a more inclusive and respectful public discourse that values the perspectives of all individuals, regardless of their religious beliefs.